the history of God's dealings with men, His interactions with men. If you try to trace historically from the very beginning of time, the book of Genesis, God's first interactions with men, and we trace it along now with the other books of the Bible, we find that it has always been a covenant of grace. In the very beginning, Adam and Eve, when God created the heavens and the earth, first when He created the earth, He created everything for the benefit of men. Created the world, all the plants, the flowers, the trees, the wind, and He placed man in the center of the garden to have dominion over the garden. God initiated and man benefited. When man sinned, it was God Himself who made the first step to bridge the gap with sin. He came down to the garden and looked for Adam and Eve. God initiated and man benefited. As we go along the story, we have Cain and Abel, we have Abraham, and the stories, in these stories, we find that it has always been God who has initiated, and even during the time of Israel as well, and unto the time where God's covenant was fulfilled through Jesus. Why am I sharing this to you? In our lesson this week, we talk of the two covenants. There is an argument between people. Some people say that the two covenants is this. The old covenant was the covenant in the Old Testament, wherein people's way to be saved was through keeping the Ten Commandments. The old covenant through Sinai, the Sinai covenant. Salvation by keeping the Ten Commandments. And so, when the New Testament came, the Old Testament was done away with through Christ. Hence, the New Testament, the New Covenant came. The covenant of grace through Jesus Christ. According to our lesson, however common these beliefs are, it is wrong. As I was stating earlier, from the beginning of time, it has always been a covenant of grace. God has always shown His grace to men. In fact, the plan of salvation, as we read the spirit of prophecy, it was created after sin or before sin? Before sin. Not only before sin, but before God even created the world. In fact, the book of Revelation tells us that the Lamb was slain from the foundation of the world. If you think about that, what amazing God we have, that even we did not yet came to being, we were not yet even formed. The world was not even created, but God already made a way of escape for sin. A covenant of grace. So what is the true two covenants according to our lesson? According to our lesson, these two covenants is not a matter of time. For if we talk about time, the first covenant was instituted in the Garden of Eden through Adam and Eve, when God said, He shall crush your head, and He shall bruise your heel. No? The enmity. He said God will put an enmity between the serpent's seed and the woman's seed. And we know that to be a messianic prophecy, prefiguring Jesus. Now, as that seed who will eventually crush the head of Satan and will defeat Satan. And so the covenant of grace actually was instituted first in the Garden of Eden, as our lesson says. It was reiterated through His promise in Abraham, and it was finally fulfilled through Jesus Christ. So the first covenant, the old covenant, it's not more of time, but rather it is of attitude. That's what our lesson says now, reveals. The first attitude, the old covenant, reveals an attitude of what? self-confident obedience. Mao ang istorya sa atong lesson. What is that? It means that seeking salvation based on one's works, no? We are confident that we, on our works, we can save ourselves. That is what the old covenant that the Apostle Paul is referring to. And the new covenant, which he is referring to, is the covenant of grace that has always existed from the very beginning. That's why it is erroneous to say that the covenant of grace was only instituted in the New Testament. For very many parts of the Old Testament, if we look at the interactions of God with man, God has always been gracious to man. He has always been gracious to Abraham and Eve, initiating. He has also been gracious to the Israelites, even when they were not faithful. He was even gracious, even until the time when his own son came to vindicate the character of the Father, gave them a chance to change their ways. And so it's very erroneous to think that the covenant of grace was instituted only in the New Testament. And the Old Testament has always been a covenant of works. No, that is wrong. And so why does our lesson bring up Abraham, Hagar, Sarah, Ishmael, and Isaac? Our lesson brings this up because the Apostle Paul alludes to this story as an illustration of the two covenants, the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. Paul illustrates the Old Covenant with Hagar and Ishmael, and the New Testament and the New Covenant with Isaac and Sarah. Not that Hagar and Ishmael are bad people, or they are also victims of wrong decisions. But they reflect Abraham's two attitudes. His old covenant attitude, his attitude of trying to work out God's promise in his life, and his new covenant attitude, his changed life. Kung sa ganyan ihiwan ni Abraham sa old covenant, because of his limitations, I was sharing in the group, usahay kining tao na natin mga limitasyon usahay. Or, pag naanagani, when at times our human comprehension cannot somehow fathom, how can we do this? No? Usahay, maningkamot ta sa akong kaugalingon. Ang itatag pabahagi. Or bisa gani, ang ganit ko usahay, yung mga nagmay ay nato na problema, nakabalong na kaya na nato sa himuon, kaya na nako, wala natin na siya isulti sa Ginoo. But, somehow, wouldn't that reflect the old covenant of works as well, of trying to do it without seeking God and trusting God. And so, Hagar, Abraham's actions when it comes to his waiting of God's promise to him with Hagar and Ishmael, it reflected the old covenant. And the promise, nakatuon sa siguro na Abraham has already learned his ways and he has learned to trust God fully with his promise, and that is Isaac, refiguring Isaac, and his promise, God's promise to Sarah. Our lesson also brings up, shortly here, our lesson also brings up the comparison of the author of Hagar and Mount Sinai. Actually, the Apostle Paul says this. What is the relationship between Hagar and Mount Sinai? We see here the attitude now of the Israelites naman sa ilang pag-approach, sa attitude nila to try to follow God, and they're self-confident as well. When God said, this is the Ten Commandments, He told them everything that they had to follow, the Israelites were very confident. They said, Lord, yes, we will follow everything that you say. Everything that you said we will do. Only to find out a few days later, when Moses took such a long time in Mount Sinai, that when Moses came down, they already made themselves a new God. No, that's when the golden calf happened. And so what does it show? It reveals futile attempts to save himself. And it also revealed to the Israelites kung saan ang ilang weakness, ang ilang kung saan kanang pagkawadon na dili today nila kaya through themselves to save. And so where does that end up to? It ends and reminded them of the first covenant that God gave them through Jesus Christ. God instituted the temple service, the ceremonial law, in order for them to look toward He who will save them, the Lamb that will take away the sin of the world, that prefigured Jesus Christ. And it was only then, to the ceremonial service, let us remember, that they had been enslaved for 400 years in Egypt. And so nabago na ang ilang mga kinaiya, makasasalan, they were depraved na ang ilang mga habits, they were corrupted na ang ilang thoughts, and so they did not think, they did not think about these things. And so through the law that God gave to Sinai, God revealed this to them. And so basically our lesson this week, it shows how man would try by his own self, to work out his own salvation, with his own ways. And it shows also the futility of these actions. This method, according to our lesson on self-righteousness, is referred to as the Old Covenant. And the New Covenant is the everlasting covenant of peace. We have a few minutes, probably about